Hello dear ladies and gentlemen, and in this video I will show you a funny incident when Jan Nepomniachtchi cannot stop laughing after Shakhriyar Mamedyarov made an illegal move. Here is only one funny thing, that Shakhriyar made two illegal moves against Jan Nepomniachtchi during one Blitz game. What a funny, hilarious incident, and we gonna discuss how it's just really happened. Hello my dear chess friends, and how you could also understand, in this video I'm gonna show you a game between Shakhriyar Mamedyarov and Jan Nepomniachtchi in St. Louis Blitz section round number 3. Time control is the same, 5 minutes plus 2 seconds increment per move, and Shakhriyar opened this game with d4 move. Jan responds with knight f6, c4 e6, knight f3, d5 and knight c3. Shakhriyar simply developed his knights and c5. And here we have a semi-terrace defense, and with the last Jan's move, he just showed us that he is struggling for the center, and here Shakhriyar had two different possibilities. Shah could take a pawn on c5 square and could take a pawn on d5, and really here is such a big difference. For example, if white took pawn on c5, then black could take, for example, with bishop, and here are no more problems in this opening for black side. For example, if white took pawn on d5, it's simply an exchange, e takes d5, bishop g5 is really not scary, and I think that it's not afraid of Jan Nepomniachtchi. Simply d4, and here after this move knight is under attack, and black has no more any problems in this opening. But here Shah just took a pawn on d5, and Jan Nepomniachtchi takes on d4 pawn. Here is knight under attack. White had to take with knight or the queen. Shakhriyar take with queen. E takes d5 and e4. You could ask me, Max, why move bishop g5 is no more a good option? Because after bishop g5 is a good possibility to play bishop e7, and after piece exchange here white has no permission to take a d5 pawn, because after check on c3 queen is no more under defense, and here position is simply lost. And here Shakhriyar chose the e4 move, d takes e5, queen d8, king takes d8, and it is a main theory of this semi-terrace variation. And here from one side black has no more option to castle, but at that moment Shakhriyar is without a single pawn, and he should have showed us how he wants to this pawn, for example, eat. And here knight g5 is a good option, because it's now it's a big threat, because on f7 will be a fork to king and to the rook, and also pawn on e4 is under attack. And here Jan simply defends his pawn on f7 square, bishop e7, and exchange on e6 was in this game. Bishop g5. And here is really a good also threat, because now Shakhriyar wants to play knight takes on e4, and it will be a material equal situation. And here simply Jan moved to knight c6, long castle check, king e8. King b1. It's so prophylaxis move, because after king b1, king is in really safe situation, because, for example, if white somewhere goes to bishop e2, bishop c4 square, it's no really matters, and here in some variations rook could go to c8, and here is no comfortable situation with the king. And so king b1 is a good move from Shakhriyar's side. Bishop b4, bishop takes on f6, g takes f6, and knight takes this pawn on e4. And now is an equal situation where white has slightly better pawn structure, but how we can see, black here has not some problems. King e7 simply, and just pawn is under defense. A3, bishop a5, knight c5. Now pawn is under attack. Rook a d8. And here simply Jan ignores this fact that pawn is under attack, and Jan attacks his opponent rook. And here, for example, Shakhriyar could go with his bishop to c4 square, attacking e6 pawn, but here I guess that Jan simply would change rooks and go to rook d8, and after one more exchange and after knight take, here black has a really safe position, and here is really difficult in this equal situation somehow to pretend for the win. And here here Shakhriyar understood that he played with white pieces, and he doesn't want simply to make a draw, and he just ignores this rook exchange, rook c1, rook d2, king e4 attacking rook, rook d4, knight c5, and here Jan undoubtedly could move back to d2 square, and I guess that the game could finish with this 3-time position repetition. And Jan also would like to win in this position, bishop b6. And really I don't know why Shakhriyar didn't take a pawn on b7 square. It's really a tasty move, and here is a problem what to do with this knight, but computer solves the situation so easy that knight e5 is the best move, and here is just pawn sacrifice for good piece activity. And here also is a big threat to go with knight to g4 square, pawn on f2 would be under attack, rook t2, knight g4, and here is really not so easy to solve these kind of problems. But in the game Shakhriyar played bishop b5, knight went to e5 square, knight a4. Here rook d2 is no more a good option from black side, because after knight takes b6 and rook c7, white has a really an active piece. Here b7 pawn is under attack, then b6 pawn, and really then this pawn could go forward to a8 and b8 squares. But here bishop a5 was a really good option from Jan's side. Rook hd1, rook hd8, simply exchange. Shakhriyar understood that he had to exchange his passive piece against opponent's active, rook hd1, rook hd8, simply exchange on d4 square, and knight c5, also one more time attacking b7 pawn. Bishop b6, here simply sacrifices pawn, Jan simply sacrifices pawn, and after knight b7, rook d2, and here is really difficult to play with white pieces because all these pawns are really weak, and here is no any reasonable variations how it's possible to this pawn defend. But here knight f4, bishop d8, also knight a4 with an idea to take and then attacking black's king. Bishop d8, knight c5, rook d5, bishop a4, bishop b6, knight took on b7 square eventually, and rook d2. Also attacking f2 pawn. Here the best option from Shakhriyar's side was to play f4, and after knight e3 fork to pawn and to rook, simply rook c2. And after rook's exchange and knight f4 move, yes, maybe white's Shakhriyar's positions is not so pleasant, but here is pawn on h7 is hanging. After h6 move, simply b4, and here I guess Shakhriyar could save his position and simply he could not lose. But rook c2, rook takes on f2, simply exchange, and knight a5, and how we can see on this board, really here white was struggling for the draw because here on the king side are 3 pawns against 2, and really here bishop and knight is a really good connectivity. And here after some bishop g1 move, h3, here king has a really good option to somehow eat all these pawns, and then black will have a really warm position. And here king d7, king d6, really good move, because if black, for example, did another move, bishop g1, here is always knight c6 move with an draw ideas. Now king d6, bishop b3. King went to d3 square, bishop c2, king knight e1, g4. Now pawn is under attack, simply knight f3. Jan also ignores this fact that pawn is under attack, simply knight f3. And the idea is the following, that after bishop h7, knight h2, it's not really how to defend pawn on g4 square, and these pawns are really dangerous for white side. And here simply white defended his pawn, h6, bishop d3, king e5, knight c6 check, king f4, and here we can see that Jan Nepomniachtchi with his last moves just activated his kings, and really here is a really difficult position for Shakhriyar Mamedyarov. He went knight d8 in this current position, e5, and here was something unbelievable. Now it's white's turn to move, and here Shakhriyar Mamedyarov with his knight from d8 square went to g7 square, and here simply Jan Nepomniachtchi couldn't stop laughing, because really it was an illegal move, and I don't remember when was the last time when some from the top GMs made such a funny move, a knight for example to g7 square with this long trajectory. Really just funny. And here Jan Nepomniachtchi stopped the clock, called the arbiter, and arbiter due the FIDE chess rules added to Jan, how I remember, 1 extra minute. Knight to f7, it's now a correct move, e4, bishop a6, and here Jan made a huge blunder. He had a really warm position, but only after single knight g1 move attacking h3 pawn. And here is the second idea, that after king c2 move, black just could take a pawn, and after knight takes h6, knight g1, b4 and bishop d4 or bishop b6, and now king goes simply to f2 square, and e pawn goes to the queen, and the bishop with king, they couldn't do anything in this position. Yep, and here with e3 move, simply position is near the equal, because here white's king goes to d1 square, and white simply blocks this Jan Nepomniachtchi's pawn, king f3, bishop b7, king g3, bishop a6. White simply blocks black's pawn, king f3, bishop b7, king f4, bishop a6. Of course, here Shakhriyar Mamedyarov would really took a draw if Nepomniachtchi would offer to Shakhriyar, but Nepomniachtchi continues to play for the win. King e1, king f3, bishop b7, king g3, bishop a6, blocking Jan's e pawn, kings take on h3, knight takes on h6, check, king f1, knight f3, b4, and here really is now Jan Nepomniachtchi has really a difficult position, because here on the queen side Shakhriyar has really a good perspective with these two passed pawns, and really it's not so easy to prevent this pawn's marathon to b8 square. But knight d2, king e2, knight b1, king goes to f3, knight took one of the white's pawn, and bishop d3. Here is other problem. Knight has no more options to move. And here just black was playing without a single piece. King h4, knight f5 check, king g5, knight d6. But here white was playing without any risk, because in this position black has no more options to move with this knight. Bishop is also a little bit paralyzed, because this bishop had to defend e3 square, but here Jan realized that he could attack his opponent's pawn, knight e4 check, king c6 and b5. And here bishop a5 was moved, and simply this really is a drawish position. King took on e3, bishop b6, simply equal, king d2 f5. And here certainly Shakhriyar could take a pawn on f5, and I guess that this game would end by draw. Simply knight c3 check, king e5, one pawn against one on one board side, and here is no more options to win this position. But knight g3, king g5, g takes e5, bishop c7. Of course, also position is drawish. White has a slight chances, but really these chances are not enough to win. And here with the last move, Shakhriyar, Jan Nepomniachtchi just attacked his opponent knight. And here Shakhriyar could play, for example, knight f1, knight e2, knight e4. All these moves are really good. But after f6 move, Shakhriyar didn't really realize that the knight was under attack. Jan Nepomniachtchi just took a knight, and here is really from drawish position. Now we have a really simply lost position for Shakhriyar Mamedyarov, because this pawn is already blocked. This king will take this pawn, and in some time king will go to c5 square, knight will take on b5, and a5 and a7 pawn will go to the queen. King c3, bishop c5, bishop c4, king f4, and here also Jan Nepomniachtchi started to improve his position. Here knight b5 move, king a4. Here Jan Nepomniachtchi could simply won this game with knight c3 fork, and here after exchange on a2 simply won position for black. Knight c7, king a5, king d6. Here simply opponents were staying on the own. King c5, bishop b3, bishop h6, bishop a2. Simply Jan Nepomniachtchi would like to add some extra seconds for his clock, because he has not enough time. King c6, and here Jan realized that he had to simply eat f7 pawn with his king's help, bishop b1, king d6, and here was a really funny moment that Shakhriyar Mamedyarov made second illegal move in this game. King a6 was a move from Shakhriyar side, and he didn't realize that this pawn is under black's control. And here Shakhriyar Mamedyarov simply resigned, and game was ended by Jan's won. So a game between two extra top GMs when Shakhriyar made simply two illegal moves. What do you think about this rival? Please write me under these comments, and thank you for your attention. You were on Max Chess channel.